Hi, welcome to the next video. In the previous video, we looked at the bass and the kick working together, creating a pattern, which we have. And we're going to create another bass channel. It's somewhere between a bass and a synth, basically. But what we're going to do is copy the pattern and put it into the other bass synth channel here. Let's just change the color so it's all nice and coordinated. And basically, we've chosen here the bass beefer, which if you look in, it's factory, bass techno, and then bass beefer. There's a few different bass sounds, and we're going to really modify this one. We didn't modify the initial bass sound because, which is, if we look back here, we have the nice clean bottom end. This one here, we're going to modify. This is the one that's going to give us the real movement. It's almost going to become like a quasi acid line in this techno track. Let's have a listen to how it sounds without any modification. Okay, we're really loud. Actually, I've just noticed here, let's put everything into the bass mix that we have here. Let's grab, first of all, my favorite volume controller, the utility little drop-in that we have here. Let's turn it down to about 8. Let's have a listen. Okay, now in this VST, let's just play with the cutoff. Just a little bit of experimentation. You got to do this all the time. Okay, there we go. Let's mute the kick and let's mute the other bass. Okay, we're pretty loud here. Let's even turn it down a little bit more, and we can see the volumes all lining up pretty sweetly there. Now, let's change the actual saw wave on the first oscillator. Let's change up this sort of bass and acid sound we've got going. Now, there's a few interesting different waves, different ways you can do things. Tri-sub is one that I like a lot, buzz square. But I'm just going to quickly change it to subdata. Okay, let's stop that for a second. Subdata, and I'm going to change a few of the things here. I'm going to go back a little bit into why I'm doing that, but let's turn the volume up of this first oscillator. And we've done that. Let's detune it a bit. Let's create very simple no width. Let's go into the oscillator number 2, and let's also make it this subdata oscillator in this virtual analog component of the A&A synth. And here we're going to detune this one as well. We're going to turn the volume right down. We just want some little extra added components. Let's give it a bit of width. There we go. And oscillator 3, turn it off. We'll turn this one off. And over here, we've got what's called oscillator 6 in this VST. Let's turn this up a little bit and turn the decay down. Because this is actually only -1 octave and the other two over here -2, this is only going to give some presence, a little bit more sort of a percussive element and also a bit more tone on the top end. Let's have a listen. There we go, as you can see, just a little bit cleaner. And there's a little bit of clipping down here now, so let's just turn the volume down in the VST, which we have to do sometimes. Now we bring in the other bass, as you can hear, and the kick. Now let's start dirtying up this bass synth over here. Okay, we've got it down at -10, but I know because I'm going to bring a few extra things in. I'm going to turn the volume up just slightly, just so we've got a signal. Let's solo that for a second. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can put on a sound like this. Saturator, overdrive. Let's distort the mids. As you can see, that's distorting really just the sort of high mids there. Let's open it up a bit. As you can see, very dirty. And this isn't such a bad thing, because the other thing we're going to do just after this is taper off the low end. But I reckon that's just got a bit too much drive, a little bit too dirty almost. Keep it up to 100. And let's take this down for the moment to about 41. But what we're going to do here is we're going to actually create, I don't know, we're going to alter this. You can either do it on your MIDI controller when you start doing live runs of the song. But basically, if you listen to this, as you can see, the more dynamics, the more the tone goes up and the more energy from the bottom end you start lacking, but the more sort of detailed it gets in the top end, more edgy, and the less dynamics, the more bottom range energy you have, the more lower frequencies. And it's a great thing. This will come in really handy when we start editing and arranging and doing some live runs and passes and sort of experimenting with the sounds and the song a little bit later on. Okay, we've got the distorted mids. Let's get an EQ on this. Always use the EQ8 from Ableton. Let's take off some of the bottom end. Let's choose this slope, not the very steep one. Let's choose this one, just so we don't interfere with that bottom end energy of the kick. We don't interfere with that sub data from our other bass over here. And let's give it a little bit of juice just in the sort of mid-range there, just one, maybe just below 1K, like that. And the next thing we're going to do is put a glue compressor on. So it's a little bit like a compressor that's just got a few other different functions ready to go, so including a sidechain. And we're just going to use the sidechain compression here. A lot of people talk about sidechain, this pumping compression, but it's also a very useful tool just to let things breathe a little bit in the mix. And what we're going to do is take the sound, so the audio is coming in from the other bass. Let's actually change the names while we're at it here. Bass 1 and bass 2. Bass 1 and bass 2. And what we want to do is bring that in, and what we are going to do here is put the attack up a little bit. We're going to allow a bit of that sound in to begin with, and we're going to take the release down, keep the ratio on 4. It's a nice sort of middle ground. Okay, we're very loud again. Let's as you can see there, once you take the threshold down, the energy of the bottom end from the first bass is taking a bit of the juice out of this one. Right, we're going to add another utility. We're going to bring the volume down a little bit more. Maybe around -7 should do the trick. Now, let's go back here, open up our VST, have a look. Let's bring the cutoff up just slightly. Let's actually do it here. What you can do is press that little arrow there. You got configure, move around whichever function you want to move, and bingo. And that means when we come back to it, we can assign it to our MIDI controller. We know which function we want to do. Actually, we're going to also add this key track here. Now, key track is a thing on a synthesizer. Basically, it allows a certain amount of signal and filter through regarding sort of in relationship to pitch, so which note, where it is on the keyboard, or where the frequency is, basically, so that the low notes don't get too loud and the high notes can have a little bit more expression. Comes in kind of handy when you want to mess around with the cutoff. Let's have a listen. Still quite loud there. Let's turn the gain down here. Let's listen to the other tracks. I think about there, just on the two. And there we have it. We have created the same pattern, but we've taken a little bit of the bottom end energy out and we've roughed it up a little bit. So let's move over to the bass mix here. At the moment, I think that's pretty good. I think we don't need to modify anything. We don't need to use any compression. We don't need to re-EQ anything at this stage. But I think the kick now is lacking a little bit definition when we've got so much information. And we'll just finish this video trying to blend all the three together by using a couple of functions inside this kick 2 VST again. So there is distortion here as well, and a little bit of drive too. And that's very similar to overdrive, distortion, effects pedals that you used to get in the past. And quite simply put, it just roughens up the sound a little bit so that it can poke through, push through certain frequencies. Let's change a bit of the distortion. There we go. And bring it down. And that's it for this second bass synth sound, and a little bit of engineering with the kick and the first bass sound.